Hello, Taya. Uh,
Hello.
Thank you for joining me today. I wanted to talk a little bit about the project that we have upcoming that you will be performing for Confluence Concerts, a concert that I am curator for, because it's had to be put on pause until we are in a safe place to record again and to film. So, could I start by asking about the background that you're sitting in front of?
Yeah, definitely. So this is a picture, a virtual picture of the cover of a music book that was published in 1895 by two Japanese publishers. Um, the loose title is A Collection of Japanese Music in Staff Notation. So at the time, it was the Meiji era in Japan, where there was a strong desire by the emperor to westernize, so
Mhm.
to absorb and learn as much Western culture as possible. And that included everything from architecture to engineering to science to music to painting to the way in which philosophy, politics, all of it, even religion. So a bunch of Japanese folk songs were published using European Western classical music notation because that didn't exist in Japan.
Right, amazing. Okay. And so it's my understanding that Puccini came across this book.
Yes.
And do
So
you want to tell us how that ties into the piece?
exactly. So this book, among some other ones that were published in Europe, Puccini came across. There was a book by Rudolf Dietrich. He was an Austrian musician educator that actually worked in Japan, and he worked with various musicians there, local Japanese musicians as well, collected Japanese folk songs, and then later transcribed them for very virtuosic piano arrangements in a very European style, but using these Japanese melodies. So that was then later published in Europe. And so Puccini came across these different songs.
Okay, this version of them.
Exactly. The Japanese folk song one that was published in Osaka, the one that I'm standing in front of right now, that just had melodies.
Okay,
So they were more inspired there. But the Dietrich book was definitely a very like pianistic. Um,
right. Adding Western harmonies to,
exactly.
right. Okay,
Yeah.
amazing. And so then these pieces have made their way into the score of Madama Butterfly. Is this right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And by Puccini. And were they credited? Uh,
I don't believe so. Maybe if there's someone out there who knows some more information, please let me know. That'd be great.
but it
I
was the fashion at the time for a composer just to take that music and to let people believe that they had written it themselves.
totally to be
Right.
inspired, right? I think
Mhm.
Puccini had a great love and fascination of Asian culture, especially of Japanese culture. He never went to
Mhm.
Japan. However, even his house in Torre del Lago like has Japanese art in there, and
Wow.
you can see that. You can see how much he was really passionate about that culture. And that's why I think we have Madama Butterfly and Turandot as well. He did work with the wife of a diplomat, a Japanese diplomat in Italy, because after he saw the play Madama Butterfly in London, and he didn't understand the English fully, but he understood the pathos and the story and that universal story of a love lost and so many tragic things I think around that story of Chō-chō San. So then he or Butterfly, and then so he made his own version of that, and
Ah, okay.
also so he worked with this woman, um, and also tried to see to verify, is this kind of story, is this happening in Japan or has this happened, and she was able to verify that
Mhm.
this narrative was not uncommon, which is really unfortunate. But
And it is a narrative that is reflected all over the world, actually,
exactly,
including here in Canada.
yeah, and sometimes like still more recently too in different parts of
Yes,
the world. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Totally. Okay. And so the piece that you have created is drawing from melodies both before and after Puccini and part of the music that's in Madame Butterfly.
Exactly. So I started with looking at what are the Japanese elements in the score. So kind of like looking at Puccini's score as my urtext, or
Hmm.
so to speak. And I came across some really great research by scholar Kunio Hara, who did his master's thesis strictly on these Japanese melodies in this opera. Um, and so I've later been in contact with him about how he's looking at various artists who are looking to reimagine or reframe these canonical works that are appropriating other cultures, for example.
Right.
Um, so that's where I kind of wanted to elevate the Japanese folk songs that were appropriated by Puccini and look at their original meaning, their original usage,
Hmm.
how they're performed today, because it's obviously changed, like how they were performed 150 years ago, maybe even 300 years ago to 50 years ago to today, because there is such a rich tradition of performing these songs still in Japan.
Right. And it's just you on stage? Are there other instrumentalists? What is this going to look like?
So far, it's just me right now. I have some electronics, some different setups that I'm working with. And some of it's pre-recorded, some of it's live created with those electronics. I'm also be using the piano. I have a looping machine, so I'm using my voice layered in different ways. But then there's
So you
also,
can sing with yourself.
yeah, I can sing with myself.
Cool. And these electronic sounds, they're mimicking Japanese instrumentation
Exactly.
instruments? Okay.
Yes. So I have shamisen, which is a stringed instrument that is plucked using, I'm not exactly sure the name, but it's like it's probably about that big of a device that you use to pluck the strings.
Hmm.
There's also koto, which is a stringed instrument that is on the ground that you would play kneeling down. Um, I don't know, somewhere between a harp and a guitar.
Mhm.
There's also taiko, which is the general word for drum or various percussion instruments. So I have that as well. And I'm also playing around with shakuhachi, which is a flute type instrument that goes this way, and then fue, which is a flute type instrument which goes this way. And those are usually made out of bamboo, different sizes of bamboo.
Okay.
So I'm imagining this world, so to
Yeah.
speak.
And is there a story narrative that goes with this? Do you speak or sing words throughout telling us a story?
Yeah, like I've used kind of my imagination to pose the question to Chō-chō San, what is your story? What would be your
Mm.
story if you could tell it today in 2021? Um, and to do it in Japanese. So I really elevate that language and try to change certain parts and rewrite the libretto, so to speak, in Japanese. So Chō-chō San can reclaim her power
Mhm.
in different moments of the piece. I'm also working with a new libretto by Eiki Isomura and Josh Shaw, who made an amazing new production in 2019. It was a co-production between Pacific Opera Project and Opera in the Heights, where the libretto was only in Japanese and English. So it was reflecting, like, what would these characters actually be saying if they were
Mm.
communicating with each other in a
Mhm.
mixture of broken Japanese and English, and then in their own worlds, Japanese and English. So I'm looking also at that to to bring back the Japanese language in those iconic arias, those iconic moments as well.
Right. And so this concert is a step in a process that you will continue in developing this Ballad of Chō-chō San.
Exactly. That's why I'm wanting to call this a project, the Butterfly Project. And
Mhm.
at this moment in time, yes, the long form ballad, the Ballad of Chō-chō San, um, as as a moment where I'm still exploring and uncovering through the research, through the scholarship, through the creative inspiration that comes through all of these moments of learning, like droplets of new information, of and then of being able to imagine um, this character and kind of communicating with this ghost, so to speak, or this
Mhm.
this iconic ghost, because we're not really sure if she was an actual person or if it may be, and then her story was fictionalized, and then you know it just grew from there.
Right.
So
Well, I, for one, am so excited to be in the audience for this piece, this butterfly project, to hear the Ballad of Chō-chō San as it may have been told through her own words. And thank you so much for speaking to us today about what is to come and keeping the excitement going for when we can actually film safely. Um,
thanks so much,
all
Marion.
the best in making this happen and can't wait to hear it.
Thanks. Take care.